Welcome everybody to Star Wars Santa, and this is my first live stream. We have a Magic Maker with me this evening, and just to make sure that the volume's coming through on a Magic Maker's side, could you talk, and then anybody online, if you can hear, let us know. If you cannot, then we'll make adjustments.
All right, so if this is a Magic Maker, if you can hear me, I'm coming in.
Okay. So we'll take up from here, and hopefully this is coming through. I don't see anybody on, so we'll assume that it's good. If it's not, then we'll record and put it back at a later time. So we just came off of a Magic Maker's stream on reimagining Star Wars, where we were discussing the Clone Wars animated series, and we wanted to pick up from that discussion here, and we're on season 3, episode 1, Clone Cadets, is the next episode. Clone Cadets, we were talking before this, a Magic Maker and I, this is one of our favorite episodes of all the Clone Wars. This is definitely in the top tier of episodes. This one is from the training facility for the clones. They're going through their training regimen, and we're following specifically Domino Squad. And Domino Squad, each squad is made up of 5 members, and Domino Squad is the rejects of the group. When you look at the other squads out there, they are conquering the courses. They're working well together, and Domino Squad has a problem. Domino Squad is a little too free thinking. They do things on their own, and they don't follow the training regimen that's been drilled into them to the T. And so they keep making mistakes, and they're trying to learn from their mistakes. And the Jedi Master overseeing the thing is Shakti, and she is trying to give them a chance after chance, and they keep blowing it. They have a very, very hard, harsh trainer who's trying to take them down. He wants to just kick them out, put them with 99 as a maintenance battalion, and just have them clean and scrub at the facility. He doesn't feel comfortable letting them out. From this episode, we see them talk to the Kaminoans, and the Kaminoans said that they've stretched the DNA pretty thin from the original source. And in a discussion with Shakti, they tell her, maybe you should start looking for another DNA contributor out there. We're running low on the quality here, and we're stretching a little too thin, and it might be time to kind of put a different set in. So then as we follow through the episode, we learned that Domino Squad, they have nicknames for one another. It's not uncommon for the clones to come up with nicknames for one another rather than just their clone ID. We have Fives, Echo, Cut Up, and Heavy, and I never did catch the 5th guy's name. I don't know if anybody can give that 5th squad member, but Fives, Echo, Cut Up, Heavy, and one other guy. They go through the training. At the end, because they are free thinkers, they come up with a solution to the course that nobody had ever done before, and they're considered maybe the finest batch that have ever gone through. And as we go further into the Clone Wars series, we become more and more familiar with these guys. Fives is one of my favorite in the whole series. He's there for a long time, and don't want to jump too far ahead. But that's my thought as we go through. We see that these clones are free thinkers. They have their own view of things, and you start to get the idea that, and we talked about this before with the earlier episode with the hidden enemy, that these clones are more than just automatrons, right? They're not just robots in human flesh. They are thinking individuals. And to what degree do thinking individuals have control of their own lives? And we see that furthered in Clone Cadets. So with that, Magic Maker, what do you think?
So, as you said, this is one of my favorites. I really like the idea of the clones fighting for a name. Like Cut Up is like extremely happy when he gets a name because of being challenged by the Master Chief, right? The mercenary, and they call Master Chief. And then when Heavy finally accepts the load of leadership, that's really that Echo has been trying. Echo was the one I think you missed.
Okay. No, I Echo. Fives, Echo, Cut Up, and Heavy.
What was it? Darn it, I don't know what the fifth one is.
I couldn't catch it. I couldn't catch it.
But, so yeah, when obviously Echo is called Echo because he always repeats the order, right?
Yeah.
But it's clear to me that they find that they're getting their name really important, and then when Heavy finally accepts his name, he's really accepting that he doesn't need to do the entire thing. He's got a team to help carry the load. But now he's accepting also that he has the heavy load of leadership, even though he says we're a team. And but he's clearly becoming the leader.
Yeah, exactly. Heavy it becomes the leader of the group clearly. And he has this relationship with 99. And it's sort of touching at the end. He gives 99 his medallion for graduating. And really, this Domino Squad is a group we're introduced into here, and we get to know them pretty well, and then they carry through in several episodes throughout the series.
Right. Yeah, we'll see them again, and we see them all the way to the end, almost to the end, really.
Yeah.
And so five is a very important. Oh, we have little Ren here. He wants to say hi to Santa one more time before he goes to bed. So say hi to Santa.
Oh, hey, Ren. Hey, hello. Good night.
All right, I'm going to send little Ren to bed.
All right. Good night, Ren.
That's one of the problems of having live streams when you got little kids.
It's great. It's great.
But yeah, so I just think that like I said, this is one of my favorites simply because it humanizes the clones so much, and from that aspect, it's really good, and I think you get to see some bias even on from Shock T, because she's in that position where she's trying to figure out whether they're really living or whether they're automatons, like we were talking about.
Well, that's a good point. There's a line in there, and I captured it. She calls them living beings. And the Kaminoans are like, you're too sensitive. They kind of criticize Shock T, like, you Jedi are too sensitive.
Right.
They're just disposable, clones. And she's like, wait, they're living beings.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's clear the Kaminoans have do not value their clones at all. They're just copies.
Yeah. It's a really good episode. I love how they're introduced, and not to go off the rails too far, but I think that folks who have followed the Clone Wars and you see these clones come through, you make these connections, especially this squad. Certainly Rex and others as well. But to this squad, we kind of make a good connection to them. And when we get to the sequel trilogy and you see Finn's helmet come off, and he gets named Finn, I think a lot of people wanted to see that happen with Finn. And we didn't
Right.
see quite the same sort of deal that we had um, with the Clone Wars when we got to know these clones, and they call each other their brothers, and there's this little deal. Even we go back to Hidden Enemy with Sergeant Slick, to say you betrayed your brothers, right? Like there's this, even though he was trying to kill them, right? Like
Right.
they still see him as one of their brothers, and we didn't get that same sort of connection with Finn.
Yeah, and it's actually a shame. Actually, yeah. It's one of the things that I was most disappointed with.
Yeah, I'm hoping that over time we'll get more of Finn's extended story, and we'll get that from him. Just as the Clone Wars animated series sort of helped me with Anakin, I'm hoping that we get some additional series that help us with.
Yeah, I actually was kind of hoping Resistance would be that. I was kind of hoping Resistance would at some point pick up with
Our lead characters,
and Rey in the course of it,
Yeah.
take us through what happened between The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, so we could basically fill in all the blanks, get context for everything.
Yeah, I've and again, I don't want to go too far off, stray off the topic too far. I completely agree with you. The Clone Wars gave us the thing that both of us wanted for the prequels. It felt fill in the story. It helped round out not only Anakin, but we get Dooku and you get more Grievous. You find out who these guys are, and it means a lot more to you than what you get in the movies.
Absolutely, it helps you get to know the characters so that when you see them in the movies, it all makes sense.
Exactly, and it came after the fact. So I'm in the same way. I hope that after the fact that we get with Disney Plus some additional stories that come along, be it animated or live action, where we get to the expanded storylines from these characters. I know we've got novels coming, we've got different things out there, but I really want a Clone Wars variant for the sequel trilogy. It'd be fantastic.
No, I agree.
So back to the Clone Wars. That's what we're here for. The Clone Cadets. It was very, very strong. And I think we've given our opinions on it. The second episode was season 3, episode 3. It's Supply Lines. The battle is now on Ryloth, and the Twi'lek people are being suppressed. And in here we get they try to get the Jedi. We get Obi-Wan Kenobi. He tries to get hold of the Senate and says, "Hey, we need you to go there to get us supplies to Ryloth," and they end up sending Jar Jar Binks and Bail Organa. Those guys go to Tordaria, where the most famous Tordarian we know is from the Phantom Menace, of course.
Right.
Right. So they go to Tordaria.
Watto.
Yeah, Watto is the Tordarian everybody knows. So if you got that in your mind, they're the winged creatures with the snout. And they go to Tordaria.
Gonzo with wings.
That's a good description. Yeah, they go there, and Jar Jar and Bail Organa try to make a treaty with the Tordarians so that they can get supply lines out to Ryloth to help them. And there's at the same time, Dooku gets wind of it. He sends out the Trade Federation, and the Trade Federation goes out there as if they're not part of the separatists, right? They go in there like, oh, well, we're just the Trade Federation. We have this treaty with you. We just want to make sure you don't get dragged into this war. We couldn't trade with you anymore. It's very important. Of course, they're lying the whole time. And Bail Organa sees straight through it. And I think the Toydarians do as well, but they're kind of caught on the fence here. What are they going to do? And I find it interesting in this episode that Jar Jar Binks, here we've got our buffoon, right? The guy who is uncoordinated. He trips. He makes mistakes. Remember back in The Phantom Menace, he's initially banned from the town because he's too clumsy. That's what he tells Qui-Gon. He's clumsy, right? And he makes all these mistakes. He's always clumsy. And then in this episode, he distracts the Trade Federation folks by doing this juggling bit. A bit of a clown juggling, and he builds this thing with plates and dishes. And if you've read the Aftermath series, you find out that's the future for Jar Jar. That's
right.
That's it's sort
that
of
actually really depressed me. I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's sort of a sad ending for him. Here he's been senator for his planet, right? And he ends up being a sideshow act out in the middle of nowhere on this planet, being a clown. But here you see it, and I'm absolutely sure that that's where the author of the Aftermath, Chuck Wendig, I'm sure that's where he got it from. But here he juggles these plates and dishes masterfully. This buffoon, this guy who trips over himself all the time, the master of physical comedy, he balances these plates masterfully, and I thought it was sort of ironic, if you will. So at the end of the day, the Twi'lek people get the supplies that Bail Organa sets up to get them, and the Trade Federation kind of fails in that, and they know that they've been had, but they can't prove anything, and they know that the Senate is a logjam, and there's nothing they can do about it. We go back to Ryloth at the very end. You see the Jedi who is there. He is killed, as well as the clone troopers that are there. They're all killed. But the Twi'lek people get these supplies from Bail Organa so that they can live another day. And that's the episode as a whole. From a plot perspective, we've mentioned some military issues that were in the first two episodes with Cat and Mouse and Hidden Enemy. I didn't really see anything in either of these episodes, Clone Cadets or Supply Lines, that seemed like a plot hole or a big issue. What about you?
Yeah. Again, I mean, I'm having these issues with the supply lines. I mean, the same thing I was having with the Hutts, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, we're not given some military of the Toydarians that could thwart this. I mean, it just seems to me like if this is going to be a depot, for example, that would make sense. But that's not the kind of trade that's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the treaty that's happening. So to me, it's like, again, this is something a little technical that if you're not really watching it from the perspective of nitpicking, like, you probably won't catch. Like, it's just a treaty. Like, they don't want to go into it.
Well, I had the same problem.
Of, hey, we want to set up a depot here because you're at the crossroads of hyperspace lanes.
Yeah, I had the same problem with the Phantom Menace and Naboo, because they've got the Trade Federation has a blockade on the planet, and when we see Padme Amidala go in front of the Senate, she says, "My people are starving." Well, Naboo's rich, as far as like planet, like it's full of trees and water, and it's resource rich. I'm like, why are they starving? It's not like it's Tatooine or one of these desert planets. Even during the blockade, all right, like
right.
they're able to get fruits and stuff. So there are huge when it comes to the trade federation and these trade lanes and the blockades that they put. They often don't make sense.
No, absolutely, and like they should have shown, like when you're talking about like Naboo, for example, you got to show like some passage of time occurring, so you can see people starting to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, like it's taking them a long time, but they really just don't deal with time at all in Star Wars.
No, they
It's
really
one of the
don't.
faults of Star Wars. I mean, I love it, but
Yeah.
they really stay vague on time, and they don't see a lot of passage of time, which causes you to start questioning things like this, right?
Right. You're like, well, okay, they've got to trade. I mean, you get the concept of it, and you're supposed to leave it at that.
Right, and that's where they want you to leave it. I mean, so some people think that Star Wars is best in its vaguest.
Yep.
And I think this is kind of along those lines. But I mean, to me, like, you don't need a lot of detail. You need hints of detail.
Well, it should make sense. Like I've always had a problem with the Naboo in that line. My people are starving, Senator. Right? Like, well, I didn't see that.
Right.
Like,
you never do.
That planet's lush. What are they starving from? Like, I don't get it. Like, how are they starving? You never see people in any kind of hardship. Now, the biggest thing you do see is, well, they're being suppressed and they're being enslaved. Now, as she said that, my people are being enslaved. Well, yeah, we see that.
Right.
The droids are coming down there. They're locking people down. Yeah, their freedom's being suppressed. Their ability to travel is being suppressed. But they're starving? Like,
starving? Not yet.
No.
You missed maybe a meal.
Well, all they have are fruits and vegetables. Wait. Like, I don't. Yeah.
They're being forced to be vegan. This is outrageous.
It's outrageous. Yeah. So I think it carries on here too. The Twi'lek people are definitely being attacked. Right.
Right.
And as far as like the Trade Federation goes, they do bring up a point with the Toydarians saying, hey, they keep calling out Bail Organa, saying he's not telling you the truth. They're at war over here, right? Like these supply lines, these supplies they're trying to bring is going into a war scenario, and that's true. But how that all of a sudden Toydaria is the key to saving the Twi'lek people or getting them these supplies is unclear. Why couldn't you just go straight there?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that again, it's a matter of time. So it's probably not that you can't. And this is like like if you were to go look on my channel, I have how hyperspace works.
Yeah.
And it's not that you need a hyperspace lane for hyperspace to work, but a hyperspace lane makes your travel through hyperspace much quicker because it's mapped out and it's like all the celestial movements are well known and mapped and tracked and recorded.
Well, and it seems like there's a bigger problem too, even at the end of the episode. And I guess the good thing is it doesn't leave it like done. Ryloth is under attack. There is an ongoing problem. I mean, sure, they got these supplies, but what happens tomorrow? What happens next week, right? Like, these people, they just lost that war. The Jedi and the clones that were there to help stave off the attack are dead, right?
Right.
So that war has been lost. Ryloth has been lost. The supplies went to the Twi'lek people, but now what?
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to find this kind of thing. I think this was not one of the better episodes.
Yeah.
And I think in all honesty, when you're dealing with kind of negotiations and these kind of things, I think that it does take away from Star Wars because that's
So
not what we really like.
the biggest things that I enjoyed in the episode were one, Jar Jar doing the juggling that comes up again in Aftermath.
Right.
Like, well, here this is. The other was the blurgs. Did you see the blurgs?
Oh yeah. Blurred,
Yeah, I never knew what a blurg was until the Mandalorian, and I would have
No,
never.
you see them multiple times in Clone Wars.
Sure, but I would have never picked up on that. I mean, they're just riding around on these little creatures. I didn't care what a blurg was. Now I'm like, wait, we have a blurg on Ryloth. Like, there's several of them.
That's where they're originally from.
Yeah, and they seem to have different kind of colorations and things. And the Mandalorian, they're on Arvala 7.
Right.
So I heard mention before about how we see Jawas on different planets. We see blurgs on different planets as well. And apparently there's some trade involved because, as you just mentioned, like that if they're originally from Ryloth, how did they get to Arvala 7? And why are they there?
Right.
And why are there like the wild Mustangs in the United States, right? Those horses were brought over and now they're just out there. So I think that's sort of what happened on Arvala 7. The blurgs get there somehow in some trade of some sort, and now they're just out there like the wild Mustang.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like the idea that these things are cross, populating or whatever.
Well, it ties in with the Western theme of the Mandalorian and them being like the Mustang, right? The Mustang were brought to. They're not native to North America. They were brought here.
Right. Yeah, so. No, it absolutely makes sense. I really like the way that's going on. But I mean, so yeah, I think as far as these two episodes, they were not really linked as an arc. Oh, no. I have a little one. Hey, little Red, what's up? We're talking about a story right now, but I'll read to you in a minute, okay? All right. So why don't y'all go in there real quick, and then I'll finish this off with Santa. Do you want to say something, Vega?
We want to say good night and hello.
Hello and good night.
Hello to you.
Hello and good night, Vega. Very good.
All right. Well, I'll be in there in a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
sorry about that.
Yeah, these two episodes are not connected at all.
Yeah, they're not arced together, and that's really kind of a disappointment in a sense. But I mean, at least that we see them come together, and we see two different aspects. One's the personal aspect of the clones, and the next one's the aspect of sorry about that noise. So let me say that again. The one is the personal aspect of the clones, which I really love, and then the other one is a little bit of negotiations, and then talking about a trade lane and how. I mean, I get it. They're setting up the reason why they end up going to Ryloth later.
Yeah,
and that's what it's setting up. But that's what it is. I mean, if you were to talk about a filler episode, that's what this is. It's setting up a condition.
Yeah, so we've got two episodes that I think are on the more positive side. That's Supply Lines and Hidden Enemy, and two that are more filler or on the lower side, and that's Cat and Mouse and Supply Lines. And then I think we landed with the movie actually being better than we originally thought it was when it was released.
No, absolutely. And I think that also has to do, the reason why I think we didn't receive that movie as well as we did then is because maybe we're a little younger. Two, we were looking at through the lens of the prequels at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I know it's pushing right up on 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. So you've got younglings to get to bed. And I appreciate this. This is again the first live stream on my channel, and hopefully this all came out well. I'll replay it, make sure there's no issues, and we plan to continue this format going forward. Next week we'll pick up continuing on in a chronological viewing of the Clone Wars. We'll cover the first half in reimagining Star Wars channel with a Magic Maker hosting, and then we'll carry on the second part here with Star Wars Santa, and I will be hosting those. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Magic Maker, for pushing people to my channel. I appreciate it. And as I close out each of my messages, I'll close out tonight. May the Force be with you. And ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas, everybody. Good night.
And subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe. Thanks.
Good night. May the Force be with you.
Thank you.